Then you guys can just close the door behind you when you come on in. This is Flash here. So what we're going to do is go over a couple ground rules and we're going to feed them. So Flash is a two-toed Linnaeus sloth. They do not see very well at all. So when we're feeding them, we want to make sure that we don't put his fingers in his mouth, my mouth, or Michaela's mouth, because anybody will bite. So we're just trying not to do that. When you're petting them, you just want to be really slow like this. Don't do that cat scratch French thing, because they hate it. I know, there's one hiding there behind you. The other thing that he's not a huge fan of is don't mess with his belly. Other than that, as soon as he eats something, then you can feed him another little piece. Get him going so he knows that we're not. Oh my God. Hey, bud.
That's what I said. I was sitting here looking at him, and then all of a sudden, that bumped out. Hi.
Flash, did they feed you this morning with some behind it?
Hi.
So he's a little picky sometimes on whether he wants to eat green beans, sweet potatoes, or squash. It is hilarious. But usually after a little bit, he'll loosen up. So if you guys want, we will go back and forth, and you guys would feel free to feed him any of that. Listen here, Dash.
Oh.
Let's move so he doesn't try to attack the food. Do you mind putting him in so he's there? I'll let you get the door now. Thank you.
Yeah, this was the whole reason we came down.
Yeah? Where did you guys come from?
Clarksville.
Oh, okay. That's an armadillo. So the reason that we do have armadillos here is they are all actually related. They are all part of the superorder of Zathorans. And so what Zathorans means is the ability to curl themselves up in a complete circle. So the sloth, the three-banded armadillo, and the giant anteater can all basically turn into a ball. And feel free to grab any of the food right there behind you. And he, after a while, will just be like, okay, I'm going to eat now. But he might even still be smelling this banana, so I'm going to put it back in the fridge. So because their vision is so horrible, they have a great sense of smell.
Okay.
Also, the sense of hearing. They have the same size of ears as us relative to their size. They're just hidden up underneath their fur.
I don't know.
And after a little bit, he'll drop back down, so then that way it's a little bit easier. So Clarksville, Tennessee, is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
About 40 minutes west of Nashville.
Oh, okay, yeah, gotcha. Are they still going to do that Ford plant that they were talking about over there?
I don't know.
There's supposed to be some.
I have no clue. I mean, they put Clarksville. They have put so much money into building all these different things, and
Yeah.
nothing happens.
Oh,
So I
wow.
mean, we've had like these big city, like, expecting the chip people to come in, and then they backed out. I think with little stuff. It's hard to keep up with. It's hard to keep up with.
You might go for a
What
piece now. It looks
actually
like.
is. Hi.
Oh,
Nope.
not that one. Try a. There you go.
I didn't expect them to feel stuff like that.
Yeah, no.
I don't
They
know what
look
I
wiry.
expected.
So in the wild, they would normally have 100 to 200 bugs living all over them. So sloths only use the bathroom every 7 to 10 days. When they come down out of the tree, they get all the way down to the bottom and they do basically a little potty dance. When they do that, the sloth moth crawls up onto them. It then obviously lays its waste there, and then they have algae growth all over their fur.
I say I've seen the
Yeah.
bugs, and I didn't know what it was. I thought it was like moss on them. Or something.
Yeah, exactly. So what they're doing is when they groom themselves and then they get that algae on their claws and the waste of the sloth moth, they ingest that. So that bacteria is what gives them the ability to process their food. I think he's into the green beans right now.
Nope.
That's his favorite is green beans, so if that's what he wants to do, that's fine. Hang it down below him, and he'll. There you go.
I can't see it.
There you go. I'll grab it for you. I don't want you to topple over. Hey, bud. We're gonna give him just. Awesome. And we're going to encourage him just a little bit to do. So the reason we don't give him unlimited amounts of fruit is fruit obviously has fructose in it. So fructose speeds up that bacterial growth. And so if we give him an unlimited amount, he basically just gets the runs. The reason I'm doing this is because he's going to smush his face basically up against my finger, and I don't want you getting. And he'll be very excited about that.
I would imagine.
I mean,
like this too. RD's set up a thing at the Nashville Zoo for her, but couldn't touch them. Couldn't, you could hand them a piece of food. As a matter of fact, the staff there didn't even touch it. They put the crate out there.
Yeah, it's not been handled.
They're a little timid. So Flash, he came to us from a facility similar to the zoo, and he was always just behind the glass. Nobody touched him, nobody fed him, and none of that. So it took John about 2 years of just working with the sloth every morning with feeding them.
Yeah.
So even if he didn't want to get fed at 10, he would just get his food whenever. So we do not believe that withholding food is the way to get animals to do what you want. It's just really working with them. Our other two sloths, Dash and Zoe, came to us from a person who's a breeder and also an expert veterinarian and been working for sloths for over 30 years. And his basically Sloth Zero was a sloth that was injured and could not go back to the jungle.
Yeah.
And that's the whole reason he even got started.
Well, the one that I had at the zoo, it was not releasable, but it had not been handled. The only time that it ever came into human contact, I had to go to the vet. And you could pay for the encounter, but they said if it did not get itself into the crate, then there wouldn't be an encounter. And then when it started to walk away, the encounter was done.
Yeah. So just try to work on the green beans with him, because that seems to be his jam. And I will get you guys some green beans too. There you go.
She says, nope, that's not
But he's still
banana.
chewing.
Yeah, well, once he's done, then he'll go for another one. And you might have to kind of wait a little bit because he's digging that fruit.
They're just adorable. Oh my god.
So we give him mango about once a month. And you would think it's like a 1-year-old with a birthday cake because he just smears it all over his face. Green beans are his favorite.
He likes eating from you. He's not eating.
Oh, he'll do it. But he likes only certain brands of green beans. I'm not joking. Like, we can feed him a different brand. He's like, smells weird. Doesn't want it. Like, their sense of smell is better than the dog's. You know, they're like, we know it's good.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me because it's no different than anything else. You get certain things that turn you off.
Exactly. So in the wild, they're going to fall from the tree probably at least once a week. And that's going to be for a bunch of different reasons. Whether they're reaching out for like the freshest leaf, because the freshest leaves are on the end of the branches. So when they get to pull that to themselves, sometimes the branches break. So they fall there. Or they're up in the tree and a harpy eagle, which is one of the predators, or a big jaguar. Yeah, they're huge.
They're just
phenomenal.
Yeah.
beautiful looking.
They're cool. So they're coming after him, trying to get him. And so he might get knocked out of the tree. But when he hits the ground, he's going to survive the fall because he has 46 ribs. And his internal organs are all attached to each other and to his ribs with a connective tissue. So, you know, like when we get in a car wreck, what really hurts us is that secondary impact of all our organs moving around. He doesn't get that. So he's built like a tank. A lot of people also wonder, like, how does he just sit there holding on all day? Like, I would be exhausted, right? So that's actually his relaxed state, kind of clamped like that. So for him to release, he actually has to think about it and then extend.
Wow.
So he's set up opposite of us.
It's kind of a muscle in our body is the same way as the tongue.
Yeah,
Because it actually rests against the roof of your mouth.
exactly.
Yeah, he got the green bean.
So sloths eat about 10% of their body weight every day. When they use the bathroom in that 7 to 10 day mark, they lose 30%.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
say 50, but
I couldn't imagine you just.
Yeah. If humans did that, we would need some different plumbing. It would not work out.
It's so cool.
yeah, he's on the road.
Oh, he's sweet.
I know.
So sometimes when we open the door to Zoe's room here, he's really excited to go check it out. And people are like, oh, does he want to see Zoe? Nope, doesn't care about Zoe. He wants to look around the room. She, on the other hand, is like, hey, what are you doing? Like, trying to touch him. And he's like, please stay away. I'm just trying to see what's going on.
Male, female type.
But it's also because Zoe's so young and she's just excited about everything. Like, even when we walk in there, she's eager to climb up on us. She's definitely bonded to humans.
Yeah, when I started looking at it, because I was actually the first time I saw this place was on TikTok, and it was the animals and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I started looking, so dang, that's like a real place, and close by and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, 4 hours for us.
Oh, yeah.
We're up to that close. And so I booked it. I booked it all the way back in December once we got our annual time confirmed. And this was the whole purpose. And then when I saw that you could actually hold them and touch them and play with them and snuggle them, see them with some squash.
That's pretty cool. And we're always adding more animals. Those Scottish Highland cows, they were added. And then we now have a back-trained camel, so we have dromedaries and back-trained camels. Probably maybe next, maybe river otters or something. We'll see.
That would be cool. I want an otter. I want a capybara.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you gotta get, capybara.
I know, it's funny. So
you've already got the setup for them, basically.
Yeah. It's my friends run the North Georgia Zoo one that's in like Dahlonega, Cleveland area.
I've seen it.
And it's funny, they started that about 35 years ago. When they started, we all went to the same church and like we all kayaked together. And their whole thing then it was called Zoo to You. And so they would go out and take things to people. we get really excited about being able to do field trips with kids and even public schools who wouldn't normally ever get to see anything like this. Like, from this area, it's like Chattanooga is at least an hour, Knoxville is at least an hour, so the kids wouldn't be able to go on any field trips.
That's what I was, saying. I mean, like for us, we've just been very lucky with, just being able to see, all kind of wildlife and critters, and just thinking of, kids never.
We saw 5 bears yesterday.
That was the highlight. We went to Case Cove.
Oh, yeah.
So that was kind of the highlight, just be driving through the woods. It's like, it's not a park.
Right.
It's not, it's like an actual bears up in the tree. It's so cool.
We went to go snowboard at Maggie Valley and came down to where it hits 411 or whatever. There's just elk chilling right there, not a small elk either. And I was like, hope y'all are paying attention when you come down that hill.
We go out to land between the lakes occasionally. They got an elk and bison range out there.
Yeah.
The elk, they'll call the elk out for both East and West Tennessee. From what I understand, I could be wrong, but from what I understand, most of the elk that they've repopulated the Carolinas, Georgia, and East Tennessee, it's come from that herd.
I believe it, because they seem, healthy, and I think the reservation does a really good job just in that area in general.
We'll just drive circles around. We'll drive out
because
this one and just drive around.
It's only a couple of miles, so we'll, if we haven't seen everything, we'll drive. I think we drove around it 7 times one time.
Yeah.
I've never been in there. Is there like an admittance, or is it just like a public road?
Well, it used to be you would stop by the visitor center and get a pass. That was $5. But once you get in, you can just keep doing it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's just got the gates, and also they can't get out. But it's
211 acres, I think.
Nice.
But
we've had bison stick their head in our window.
Yeah.
Those are the big.
They'll just They'll just stand in the road and look at you, and you're like. Critters are.
Yeah.
We already had sheriffs, so.
We had a blue-tongued skink. We had 4 dogs, 2 cats.
I
set up
just
a
about
fish
everything you
tank
could
for
think
seahorses.
Yeah, that's cool. Seahorses are pretty amazing.
I used to have snakes when I was younger. I had a bearded dragon that would ride around on my shoulder.
Yeah.
I just put them on my shoulder like a...
We have one here, and her name is Tootsie.
Mine was Spike.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So, 2-toed versus 3-toed sloths. The reason you don't see that many 3-toed or 3-fingered sloths in North America is they really require the leaves of their sarcopia tree. They can't vary their diet as much as 2-toed or 2-fingered sloths because, as you can see, we're feeding them things that they would not see in the tops of trees. But they're set up a lot differently. Also, the 3-toed, they have basically a little bit of a tail. They have 4 or 5 vertebrae sticking off. And so when they come down and do the poopy dance, they get all the way into the pile, so they get even more sloth moss on them. But the 3-toed or 3-fingered are the ones that you see that kind of have almost a mask and that perpetual smile. And they rotate more their neck, like this, versus the 2-toed or 2-fingered, and he can rotate his whole spine around. He can switch about 270 degrees.
That's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
I was back home. I would go down to the creek, do smallmouth fishing.
Yeah.
And one morning it was right when it was gray. There was no color. And I heard an owl and I looked up, and this owl is looking at me, and I'm like, man, that doesn't look right. Kind of had me freaked out.
Yeah.
And then as I got further down the creek, it was following me, and I realized that I was looking at his back before his head was turned around.
Oh, right, yeah. That is pretty crazy.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, I thought they would be much more wiry.
I always say it feels like a little bit between beard hair and regular hair. The other one that I've heard is that it's like troll doll hair. I don't really remember what troll doll hair feels like, but that's what several people have said. I was like, we're talking about the dolls, right? Not real trolls. That's a different conversation.
Oh, that little one that was there, she stuck her head out and she just looked.
That was. It was like, hey.
Yeah. That's Dash. Dash is the youngest. He's about 8 months old, and he's now just starting to darken up. It's really funny because when he first got here, he was that black color, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so people would show up in winter, people were dark colors, and like, take my picture. I'm like, looks like you have lint on you. You can't see anything. And we'll be getting a fourth sloth probably in the next month or so, and her name will be Chloe. And the reason we basically, like if you look at the schedule, so right now it's kind of always scheduled for 2 sloths, but we have 3, right? And so the reason we do that, let's say Flash is like, I'm not feeling it, I'm not coming down. Zoe's like, I'm not doing this, or Dash. So then that way we can just go on to the next one, because we never want to force the animal to do something. A lot of times people ask, how do you know if you're going to a good encounter or something like that? Our goal is not for the sloth to do something every 15 minutes all day long because they're sloths, you know? So I always tell people, if you look and you see that that sloth is booked 8 hours a day, every 15 minutes to see people, that's not the jam for the sloth. I don't even think most people want to see people for 8 hours a day.
No, I get it.
I mean, for me, it's just being this. I was able to touch it, so I'm I'm happy because so when we went to the zoo, you just stood there and you had to hold the piece like this to where it didn't even remotely seem like you were going to touch it. And after about 3 people fed it, it was like, yeah, I'm done with y'all. And he went and climbed back in his box and it was done.
Yeah. Well, you guys are doing the VIP one too, right? Yeah, so you'll be holding Zoe, and she is a cuddle bug, and she probably will still have more snacks because she is a snacking machine.
That's just so cool.
Sometimes he'll change his mind and be like, oh, nope, I want to eat some more. So.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking a little break in between horses.
Yeah, definitely. And the reason you hear me say 2-fingered and then 2-toed is because everybody has always said 2-toed or 3-toed, right? But it's kind of a misnomer because it's not really like they have 4 legs. It's like they have hindquarters and then arms, right? And so the general sloth community is trying to get people to go towards saying 2-fingered versus toed. And his claws are really impressive too because his bones grow almost all the way through that. So if you did have to trim him or anything like that, he would have to be sedated and then use like a Dremel. The reason we keep live bark on these trees is so then that way he can wear his claws down, just like how he would in the wild. And then his enclosure here behind you is really cool. It's 2 stories. Well, you guys are upstairs, right? Or you guys upstairs, or you guys staying here?
We were at the cabin.
We
Okay,
stayed
cool.
in the cabin for a couple nights.
So this one goes up 2 stories, and so if you're in the camel condo, there's a big window, and so you're looking at the sloth the whole time. But no. It's for 10 people. So it's a different price range than the cabin. I think is like the coolest option because
I like
it's awesome. But if you come back with a group of friends, there's 3 master suites, and it has hanging beds, a jacuzzi, and then it has hidden bunk rooms set up like Chronicles of Narnia for the kids.
We have a.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's a good catch.
We have a special needs kiddo. He's 35.
Yeah.
So he's stuck in tweenager land. If
Yeah.
you've ever been around teenagers, sometimes they're cool, most times they're super annoying.
Right.
He's stuck as a forever teenager, so
Yeah.
he would love something like this.
Oh, it's amazing. We get, actually, I think it was yesterday yesterday or the day before, there was an adult special needs community that came out. And we always kind of just change things just a little bit, just to make sure it works for everybody. But everybody loves it. Like, I just like seeing that genuine joy on people's face. I think it's really special.
That is because my son, he doesn't see well.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff like this that doesn't move fast, he can.
Yeah.
It's just cool.
Is his nose always that wet?
So as soon as he comes down and hangs, and then I give him any banana or anything, I think it's like that Pavlovian response. He's like, I'm about to eat. Like he gets that drooling thing. And a lot of times you can see him, he'll open his mouth and kind of lick his mouth, nose, lips. He's like, it's that time. As soon as he's done feeding, we look at him again in the afternoon, make sure he's all right. And his nose just kind of dries back up.
I think he's done for a little bit.
No.
Flash, you being picky today, bud?
He wants something else.
Let's try that sweet potato too.
No.
I tried sweet potato a couple times.
He didn't like that either.
He wasn't
He's
in
like,
it.
I'm going away.
Oh yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it right now.
He's undone.
And what we're gonna change on this track, because I don't like how it kind of just terminates, is we're gonna make it a loop. That way, if he wants to keep moving, he can.
That'd be cool.
And we just got this mural painted because before I thought it looked a little sketchy. Because it was just wood paneling, and sitting here, and people are like, "Why do you have this sloth in your house?" I'm like, "This is not my house. This is a zoo, basically."
I mean, it's awesome. We were really impressed with the whole setup of the place because everything's got plenty of room. Everything seems well taken care of. Everything, even the turkeys socialized. I've never seen a turkey socialized.
My sister's got turkeys, and you can about like maybe get close, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm done with you."
So Tom the turkey there, he wants you to pick him up. That is why he's making that sound. That's why he's filling up. What's it called again? You should know. She's studying to be a vet.
I don't know when he's doing that thumping.
Yeah, but so when this gets engorged with blood and he makes it really bright red, as soon as you pick him up and pet him, it goes back to like normal skin color. His snoot.
Ah.
So he is doing that to get your attention. It is a little bit of a May thing, like he's out there looking for his lady, but we take it as, oh, look, he likes it. And as soon as you pick him up and pet him, he gets quiet. And what he tries to do when people are down at the wagons or even the cabin is he comes up and makes all that noise because he wants, like, hamburger buns or a hamburger or a marshmallow. But we're like, don't feed him a marshmallow because it's Yep.
What was it? Grapes wasn't good.
There you go. She worked in a vet's office.
Yeah, grapes can cause kidney failure, but it is, in excess. I used to do the same thing too. I would give my little winter dog a grape or two.
Yeah. One for me, one for you.
That's the thing too. Is Max was a 100-pound Doberman.
Yeah.
And
I thought he was like a little 5-pound lap dog.
Yeah, I love Dobermans. I can't believe people could ever be afraid of them. They are the sweetest dogs.
And a lot of it has to do with, like, who trained the dog. Like, what have they been trained to do? Like, if you train your dog to be aggressive, you can make a chihuahua be aggressive,
That's what I tell everybody.
Well, yeah.
Everybody says, oh, those are mean breeds. No, it's what people do to them. Yeah. And I hate that.
Cherokee, my first Doberman, when we met, she was going over because I worked at EMS already, so I worked 24-hour shifts. So she would go over and
I worked 12-hour night shifts in the ER.
And let Cherokee out and feed them at night. And then one day she called me and said, I just brought Cherokee home with me. I didn't see the need of going over there.
So I moved this dog in with me before I ever invited him to move in.
So you're a paramedic and she's a nurse?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I've been
works as a
25
paramedic.
years in the ER as a nurse, and then 20 years this year functioning as a medic.
Yeah, she works as a medic because in Tennessee, in RN, it's an advanced EMT can practice ALS.
Right.
Same way as a paramedic can work critical areas in the hospital.
Right.
And then I'm also a respiratory therapist.
Oh, yeah.
I'm retiring in October, and I think I'm done.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be a door greeter at Walmart or go down to the dog kennel and volunteer or something.
Ace or Home Depot, that's what I want to do. Yep, I can walk you over there, and yep, there's the plumbing.
A lot of our EMS, when they retire, they have to go to Lowe's.
Yeah. So I was an EMT for a while, when I did it like 20 years ago, it was like EMT B, I, and then P. And so I had completed I, and I was starting paramedic, but I was working for Rural Metro down near Atlanta. And so the job that I had to do with assisted living, which is like the most depressing thing ever.
Yeah.
But like my clinicals at Grady, I was like, this is the funnest thing ever. I was like, can we do this? He goes, We have standing orders for everything but heart surgery. He's like, just save their life. I was like, this is great.
As a matter of fact, I just saw a thing, and I think it was in Atlanta or North Carolina, or Georgia or North Carolina, where they had the residents would, ER residents would have to do rotations on the ambulance. Well, they had their own vehicle when they would intercept. So, like, whatever state it was couldn't do RSI.
Right.
And I'm like, damn, you know, we do RSI on standing orders, you know. But yeah, you're, used to be, the National Registry was, because I came to Tennessee as a basic and I had to take the heavy PTO module. And then when I got out of the Army, I got out of the Army in April. I think I started paramedic school in June or something. So, I mean, I didn't spend a whole lot of time working as a basic. And then Tennessee's pretty much got away from basic.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
well, there's no middle anymore, right? It's basically EMT and then paramedic.
They've got 4 levels now. They've got AMR, or EMR, Emergency Medical Responder, which is like your firefighters.
First responder, right?
Yeah. Then they've got the EMT, the advanced EMT, and paramedic.
Oh, okay.
So your advanced EMT is kind of where your EMTI was.
Yep.
Let's see, you gonna do any more?
So when I went to take my exam, the AED things that we had, I think back then there wasn't a setting for infants. And I just had like, they were like, what would you do with like under this weight infant? And I was like, I'm going to put a pad on the front and a pad on the back. And they were like,
still gonna shock.
Right. And they were like, that's not the thing. You're doing it. They're like, but it should be. And so they changed it because they're like, what you did wasn't authorized, but we're changing the module to do it that way. And I was like, that's all. I was like, either that or you would have to cut the pads in half.
It's in there.
Yeah.
Something's better than nothing if you got a trim pad.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff. Like 12 leads now are the big thing.
Right.
When I went, we had like back 10s. That was actually kind of the newer thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I took my test, I went down to Albany, Georgia to take my National Registry. They had a Life Pack 5, and I walked in, and I'm like,
where's the rest of it?
We'll work with this.
Yeah.
And he recognized that because he said, I failed. And he's like, have you ever seen used a Life Pack 5? I'm like, I've seen one sitting on the shelf, maybe.
Yeah.
And so he showed me how to use the Life Pack. It was cool because otherwise I'd have failed.
Right.
But, yeah, we didn't have 12 leads. We didn't have glucometers. We didn't have pulse oximetry.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, so what these kids come, my partner is actually, she just finished, she just took her final last Monday. And they're learning so much stuff that, you know, I mean, even the drugs, the pharmacology has changed so much.
Right. I think it's like phones are annoying, right? But at the same time, you're like, anything that you forget, you can be like, let me see exactly what that is right now.
Man, we're on the way to a call for an overdose, and I call up poison control and say, hey, we're going for it, and supposedly they took this much drugs, and, you know, we're going to a wreck, and supposedly somebody's face, so, hey, doc, I might need to crack somebody.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
So when the next set of people come at 10:30, would you rather do Zoe? Or Zoe's, you want to do Zoe?
I can do Zoe. Okay.
Because usually as we move to Zoe, there's less talking because we've already kind of talked, and by the time someone holds a slot, they don't really hear what you're saying anyway. You could be like, oh, you just won $1 million. Like, cool, I'm holding a slot. Yeah. People aren't really paying attention anymore. It's like, Zoe will still have a little bit of an appetite. I'm going to leave you guys with Michaela for just a second. I'm going to step outside and see if the 10:30 people are here. And then you guys will transition into this room here with Zoe and then Michaela, and we'll set Zoe in your lap, and then I'll come back out here and do the other presentation with other people. Okay. You guys have any questions about anything so far?
No.
Awesome. Be back in just a second.
Man, that is a life.
Yeah.
If I could just hang on a
What was his
branch.
name again?
Flash.
Flash. Okay.
If I could just hang on a branch and have people hand me food,
yeah.
that would be poop once every 7 days.
Oh, yeah.
I
Just
mean,
beautiful. Sleeping most of the day. I mean, it's a lot.
So are you actually in vet school or?
No, I'm just trying to get in right now. I've graduated from undergrad. I did that at UT, and then I'm applying to vet school right now, trying to get in. I applied right after I finished my undergrad. I didn't make it the first time, so I'm hoping that this experience will help me get some more bonus points.
Okay.
That's what my cousin wanted to do. And according to her, she went to Ohio State, and according to her, she didn't get one recommendation from a professor or some topic that she needed or whatever.
Yeah.
But of course, that was 35 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty particular on their application cycle about how they want things done, and you have to fill out so much stuff, and it's a headache, definitely.
We actually, one of my old partners is in med school right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's in his third year. Another guy that worked with us, he started at the same time, so he's probably in his third year.
And the girl that I worked with for 6 months last year, Shelby, she starts med school this
And
August.
we've had, we don't know anybody that made it into med school.
No, you hear people talking about it. That's it. So good luck.
Yeah, some people say that it's more.
I've heard it's harder to get into that than it is med school.
I've also heard people that didn't get into vet school got into med school.
Yeah.
But there's probably much more of a need for doctors than there is.
Yeah. Well, there's a shortage right now of vets. And
There needs to be
that's
better.
true. That is very true.
Better docs. Hi, Guy.
Oh,
Very nice to meet you.
We come down here again to go to Cade's Cove. I am bringing honey buns.
You couldn't find any honey buns?
Well, we didn't really think about that many bears.
I'm gonna get one more chair for you.
Step in, I'll bring another chair in here too.
Why?
You want me to put him back in there?
On to you right away.
You guys can go ahead and take a seat.
You gonna do it the first time we got it? You good? You gonna do it the first time we got it? You good?
I have before. I haven't ever picked her up from her hanging like this.
Just get really close so she can grab your shoulders, and when she puts her arms around you, she can pull a little bit. And guys, when she is holding on to you, if the pressure feels too tight, relax for a second and then just lightly reach back and like tap her little paw and she's like, okay, I should kind of readjust. A lot of times we do see Flash is already trying to come in. He is already like right here. From that, like he's right here. He's like, okay, I can latch on here. You're not coming in, bro. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys transfer, and then I'll start this. Just to make sure you're
That's her key word. So latch on to this little. She used to do when she first came the same size as Dad, and she was bigger than she was. Now she's bigger than it all the time. She was, you have to go first.
Hey, Flash.
Tap her shoulder, tap her little hand, and she puts it up.
You good with that?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Y'all ready? And then just close the door behind y'all.
Oh boy, there he is.
That's Flash. He is one of our two-toed Linnaeus sloths. And the reason I have this little guy out is This is Baku the armadillo. You can come forward. He is not aggressive at all. And when you pet him, you want to do long, slow pets like this. Don't do the cat scrunch. Don't put your hands in his face. And don't try to feed him a finger. When you do go to feed him, let's see how he's feeling. He's been a little bit picky about his food. But basically, as soon as he starts to eat, just let it go.
Okay.
Let's see. He's been filling the green beans this morning.
You want a green bean, bro?
He had a little bit of a banana this morning,
Uh-huh.
so he's like trying to hold out for it.
He would rather have more.
He would. I mean, who doesn't? To him, it's his sweets.
Oh,
So
there he goes now, because in all the videos that I've watched, he was always long. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
interesting to see him folded up like that.
and part of the reason that we have the armadillo here is the three-banded armadillo.
It's nice to meet you. Meet you.
But that shell that you saw in Baku,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He was back there. It's okay to take.
oh, you can take pictures, video, anything. We do not. So we're going to give him just this little piece of banana. You're totally fine, sir. You don't even have to move. That way. So the reason that we don't feed them too much fruit is fruit has fructose in it, and they process their food through a bacterial process. So if we give him too much food, it would speed up that bacterial process, and he would basically get the run.
Oh.
Okay.
Do you need a water?
I think so. I just have a tip.
Okay, let me run over here real quick. Be right back.
It's softer than I thought he would be.
So they only use the bathroom every 7 to 10 days. When they come down out of the tree, they get their booty all the way on the ground and they do a little dance and they're trying to basically put their bottom in the fruit pile. And the reason they do that is the sloth moth then crawls up on them. And so when they're grooming themselves between the waste of the different insects and the algae that grows on them, that's where they get the bacteria when they put it in their mouth that helps them process their food. Yeah, so we use enzymes when we process our food. If for some reason his system got really out of whack, we would try to adjust it with fruit, and then we'd go to probiotics, and then you would go to like a live biotic. If that still didn't work, then you would go to a fecal transfer, which is kind of what it sounds like, taking poop from a healthy animal, kind of grind it up, put it in his food, and get his system started that way.
Move a little bit.
Likes to do this hanging thing now where his body's like a U. I think he's trying some yoga.
So how old is he again?
Almost 8. Yep. So sloths in the wild typically live to 20 to 30 years. But the 2 oldest ones that they have recorded were in Germany, and that was Jan and Paula, and they were 52 and 54 years old. Yeah, pretty incredible.
You go fall asleep there, dude?
Mm-hmm. So their relaxed state is that clamped on that you see with his claws and hands. So when they're relaxed, it's clamped in. So he actually has to think to release. So they can actually die in a tree, balled up, holding on, and they will stay there until they get knocked out.
And that it's just the total opposite of
Correct.
what you.
Metabolism all the way down to around 300 calories a day, which I'm pretty sure I burned 300 calories when I was 4. They just slow their metabolism down. their body temperature is just dictated on whatever the ambient temperature is. They don't modulate it. So if they recognize that it's starting to get really cold or really hot, they just kind of start shutting stuff down. They could die with a full stomach of food, but if the bacteria has gotten too cold or hot or died off, they can't process their food.
Mother Nature.
They're pretty incredible.
And they are natural to what countries?
Like Costa Rica, Honduras, Central and Northern, Southern America, South America, I guess is how you would say it. And a lot of times countries like that, like Costa Rica, for instance, they say it is illegal to hold sloths. And the reason they say that is what happens is you have people that are economically depressed or they just want to make some quick money. They see cruise ships coming in, so they go take sloths out of the jungle, dip them in bleach, charge everybody $20 to touch it for 2 seconds, and the sloth dies about a month later.
Right.
Because they just killed off the whole biome and everything else. So that's where Costa Rica's kind of taking those steps.
Now, in all the videos, you talk about how he's never been held,
Mm-hmm.
and that you leave it up to him. What do you, just out of curiosity, what do you think he would do?
So we've just stood there beside him just to see if he wants to,
Yeah.
and he doesn't. This guy is like, I want some more food, so we're going to put it in here. I know you want to get up on me. Can you catch that door, sir?
Yeah. Now what you doing? Snooping?
He's a snooper. I'm going to leave that open because if he goes to grab that tree, I want to grab him because I don't want to have to climb to the top of the 2 stories. Yeah. So this
That looked at it yesterday.
mm-hmm.
Actually, there's
when it snowed, because it snowed like 3 months ago or whatever.
oh, yeah.
And so it was awesome because we had the camels out in the snow and the kangaroos. But if you guys have grandkids or nieces or nephews or whatever, 2 of the bunk rooms are really cool because they're set up like Chronicles of Narnia. So you have to open this wardrobe and then you go through the clothes and then you open it up and there's like, it's a bunk room. And then what's really cool in the kids area is there's a little window in the floor. One of the windows you're looking at the camels, and then in the other bunk room you're looking at the kangaroos.
Oh, cool.
And then there's a tunnel behind it that connects the 2 bunk rooms, and it has fish tanks set in the wall that are backlit.
Oh, man.
It's really cool.
Well, that's kind of on my bucket list. We have a 4.5-year-old grandson.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think, and I saw some of your stuff that a lot of your things are 6 and over.
Right.
So,
But like the pony rides, so like what we had just did the other day was a unicorn birthday party. I'm not sure if it's a boy or girl. But then we do like cowgirl parties with the little ponies and stuff, and that's what the kids seem to.
Yeah, that's what I was looking. You had different playgrounds. You were very kid-oriented.
Oh yeah, 100%. John and Donna have 10 kids. The people that own the farm, 5 are their own biologically, and then the other 5 were adopted from Ukraine.
What's the one boy we met with the spider monkey?
Vlad.
Vlad?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is it Vlad? No, Vlad or no? Because I was talking to Vladimir, I guess. He's Vladimir.
Yeah, Kate did.
Yeah.
Vlad's a good guy. He works really hard.
you have
he
a
was
story to tell.
Yeah, something about his hands or something. That he had to have an operation on them or something.
The guy said his parents were super mean,
Oh, well, yeah.
and that's a Ukraine thing.
Or, it is.
I
just figured he had, mentally challenged people for parents.
Basically, that I think a lot of people need a lot more hugs, is what goes on in my head. I'm like, and even sometimes we see it on social media stuff, there are people watching and saying things. I'm like, man, you need a hug.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, why do people want to be mean? I don't really get it.
From what he's been through.
Yeah.
He's an extremely loving person.
Yeah.
That's why he said you never know anybody's story.
That's right.
And when I asked, because of the accent, I said, where are you from? And I thought he was going to say Louisiana.
Yeah.
Because it sounded kind of Creole.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you're right.
And so that was like.
I'm going to tell me he needs to learn to speak French. You know how Creole has a little bit of French in there, that Louisiana twang.
Yeah.
We had a couple people come up here, and they're from Mississippi, Louisiana, and they really like to hunt alligators. I'm terrified of alligators, but we have an invite, and I'm like, it'd be fun. I just gotta keep it in check. I think alligators are terrifying.
What are you doing clear up there, mister?
That is how he relaxes sometimes. But what we'll do is, before we transition in there, is we'll open this door so you guys can see him crawl up. And then if it's warm enough, he can go all the way up. So there is, let's see. So you see that other door right there? So I'll set up a stick as long as it's warm enough, and he can go all the way outside. So he gets like a pretty big area.
Yeah.
What we're working on is maybe even a greenhouse at one point that'll have all the sloths with kind of lodging from each side.
You guys have an amazing setup here.
Yeah, the painting turned out really nice.
Oh yeah,
I think about the time I found you guys, it had just been started.
Right.
And you were talking about doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
So.
And we're going to change his stick here to where it makes like a loop.
No. Yeah.
That way he doesn't feel like he's kind of stuck. Cause I wouldn't like that feeling, and so we want to make sure that he can kind of move around as much as he wants. And when a lot of people ask, like, what would happen if he climbed onto me, I would just, like, a lot of times I sit here and I feed Zoe, and he runs his hands through my hair, or his claws, like he's combing my hair looking for food. And he's so gentle about it, I kind of move just to make sure he doesn't accidentally, like, get my eye or something, you know. But at any point he wants to crawl on me, I will just sit there.
I mean, typically, even in the wild, they're not an aggressive.
Not aggressive, but they're more like avoidant.
Yeah.
That's their thing, is they survive by being quiet, slow, and not letting people see them.
And he hasn't seen the video, so tell him how many ribs they have.
Right. So they have 46 ribs, 2 sets of 23, and all their internal organs are actually attached to each other and to the ribs. Because in the wild, they fall out of the trees about once a week. Even if so you gotta think, where are the freshest leaves? At the end of the branches, where it's the thinnest. And he obviously doesn't have thumbs, so nobody's feeding him. So when he grabs those small tiny limbs and he's pulling them to themselves to eat, sometimes they break. So then he falls. The other reason that he's gonna fall is the harpy eagle, which is one of his predators, huge eagle, is coming down to get him, or jaguars or big cats. When the jaguar and him both fall, the jaguar cat's getting a little messed up. They're probably going to live, but he's going to survive, and he doesn't have a problem with it. It's just like when we get in a car wreck, that secondary injury we get, our organs bouncing around, so he doesn't get that. He's built like a tank.
Mother Nature's amazing.
And they live in the same tree their whole life?
No. They will definitely move around. They usually go to the bathroom in the same spot. But in terms of their movement, it's really kind of interesting because they put tracking things on them, right? And they have this one sloth, and they're like, how the heck is he moving so much? What he was doing is getting on the bananas that were attached to zip lines, like the banana clumps, you know, and just riding on them through this banana plantation in Costa Rica. So they're like, you know, doing the Uber. I'm going to hold dash because I don't want to go up that tree.
What's he doing over there, Snoopy? He is so Snoopy.
He is. And he knows that's his area.
Yeah.
And so the door's open, he's like, so we going back in there? And that's the reason Flash only does 2 encounters a day. But can you see that fur like on his belly?
Yeah.
See how it's kind of flipped the wrong direction? So that's when he's upside down, the rein still runs correct.
Oh.
So because he's going to be upside down a lot.
Yeah.
Let's see what temperature it is, because I want to set up that stick for y'all to see, because I think it's the coolest thing ever.
Can I get a picture of it?
Oh yeah, for sure. Is that good? Can we move a little bit more? Let's see, Ocoee, Tennessee weather. It is 70. It's going to make it to 75, almost 80. So right when we get ready, I'll put the stick there and see if he's feeling it. He might be like, it's too cold.
I was super, super thrilled to get to see the spider monkey too, because it hasn't been on the video.
No, not yet. And he might eat a green bean now. If you see a green, let's see if I hear him going.
Here's a bigger one.
Hey, bud. You want a green bean? No. Sometimes he will eat a ton, and other times he is not about it.
What you looking for, mister?
So are you the primary care person for him?
So I pretty much feed Zoe every morning because I do a live video, and Flash gets a little bit. If Flash doesn't have an encounter, then I go ahead and feed him also. I don't typically do a lot of the encounters because I'm setting up networks and doing social media, all that fun stuff. Michaela, who's right here, who you guys will be doing the Zoe encounter with, she's going to be our full-time sloth keeper. Because sometimes we do an event called the Sloth Keeper, and it is 3 hours. And so people are coming in and spending 3 hours, all 3 sloths, from feeding in the morning to doing the humidity to everything. Like if they poop, we examine.
In Iowa, we've got Iowa City University.
Oh, yeah.
That's a kind of
In vet school anywhere. She came here and interned for a summer with us and our vet. She got into every single vet school because they're like, oh, you have experience with all these animals, and nobody else has that.
Yeah. Well, they only have so many sloths.
Right.
And
But I think where she's going to school is like maybe not the Virgin Islands, but that area. And I was like, well, that doesn't sound like too hard of a
no.
I was like, I'll go to school anywhere at the beach.
Yeah. Yeah, we spent a week in the Bahamas several years ago, and man,
That's kind of nice.
the color of that water is just,
It's beautiful.
yeah.
I lived in Guam and Hawaii for a little bit, and I loved it.
Yeah, we got to spend a week in Hawaii too. Love the culture.
You alright?
Yeah. I think there's something, because we came from North
right.
Carolina, so there's something blooming here that
Oh.
was already done there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was more so up in like the Black Mountain area.
Oh, yeah.
We were both snuffling.
Yeah, good. You mean the Black Mountains in North Carolina?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we, when we leave south of Raleigh to head back to Iowa, we like to go through there.
Oh, it's
And
gorgeous.
we like to stay in Black Mountain.
Yeah. I lived in Hendersonville,
Oh,
East
yeah.
Flat Rock, technically. And because I like kayaking and rivers so much, the Green River that's right there, I named my daughter Emerald.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, it's a beautiful area.
Well, the plan when we left last year, coming back, was to go to Hendersonville and then the hurricane.
Right.
And what?
It was a mess.
So when we came out in December, I'm not sure if I don't think the 2-lane was open quite yet.
Yeah.
But so we took the opportunity to go straight south and go into Louisiana and Mississippi and across the Gulf and into Florida.
Get you some gumbo.
Yeah. Oh, did we eat good?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Hey, there's some good food down there.
Yes,
Nothing wrong with that. That's good.
We ended up in Titusville because we decided to go to the Kennedy Space Center.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, it was an awesome place too, and we came out of there that day, and I looked at him and I said, I gotta have Mexican.
You gotta have a bunch of more.
If you guys like space stuff, you should go down to, I think it's Brownsville, where SpaceX is doing those Starship launches.
In
So-
Texas?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But if you like the concept of it, so they're catching basically a 30-story building with chopsticks. It's the rocket.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even land. It doesn't have legs.
I
So when it
saw
comes,
the video.
it's
of it.
amazing.
Yeah.
People are like, is that possible? I'm like, could you imagine something bigger than a 747 landing and you're catching it with chopsticks? I was like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing, you know, we grew up with the initial space flights and everything, but going there and actually seeing the Challenger and the rockets
yeah.
and one of the, and then a glass enclosed thing, one of their first, like would have been their computer at that time was a handwritten spiral tablet, you know, and these people just went into the complete unknown, you know, and the courage of those astronauts.
Yeah.
So,
Like now your phone has 10 times the compute power that their supercomputers have.
and
You know,
I mean,
like,
they have the whole, like the original consoles from one of the very first, you know, we've all seen the movies and that's like, well, how that was real.
yeah.
And the other thing is the building there that I don't think that's what they make them in. And so they gave the dimensions of that building and it's just
It's
phenomenal. But it's like the two garage doors on the side of it takes 42 minutes for the door to open.
That's cool.
And that's a bit, you know, because when you're looking at it, and of course we just drove past it on the big coach bus, but it was an amazing experience.
So you know how big that Saturn V rocket with like the shuttle and the tanks and everything is? That Starship is even bigger.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. I'm like, this is like our modern day Ark.
Well, and now it's going more towards private.
Oh yeah.
And then
There's too much red tape. Nobody can try anything.
NASA's paying for their knowledge or tech, you know. And I had seen Peter Santello, Santello does videos, travels the world actually.
Right.
But he did one at Cocoa Beach, which is close there, and the natives, you know, he always finds somebody that can tell him,
Right.
you know,
About the area.
and talking about through the years of, you know, space exploration was big and then it died and then it kind of got up again, and how Cocoa Beach population just up and down and up and down. And but we actually live in a pretty amazing country.
Oh yes, definitely. I agree. Let's see if he wants to come hang out in here because it's fun to watch him kind of move. And get ready with your video. And if you want, you can, as soon as he starts to move, I find that the best place is kind of like here as you back up because he's going to come towards you. So as soon as he figures it out and starts moving, it'll be pretty cool. Because I think watching him move it's almost like he's elegant.
Yeah.
There you go, guys. You're good. You can come out and watch Flash go back in. There's your picture.
Oh my gosh.
They're going to come in as soon as Flash goes into his room, okay?
I'll step on you a little bit.
So he's going to climb in his room. This will be a good video if you want to video it. I just usually try to let both groups see this because it's pretty awesome how he climbs. And you can come all the way here into this room. Oh my get out of the way so y'all can step in there. And then when you're inside, if you look up above you, you'll see the big window, and that is for the camel condo. You can go all the way in. There's plenty of room. Y'all have all been in the club back in the day. Don't try to hide it.
He's just cute.
And he might even come straight towards you because he's probably going to go look at that door. But because it's still just 70, I don't want him to go out there and be like, oh, it's kind of chilly. I'm coming right back in. You guys enjoy holding Zoe?
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Yeah.
That thing's just.
Amazing. You're just a cutie.
And she moves a lot more than you think sloths would move.
You're a cutie.
Nah, he will.
Still a youngster.
Mm-hmm. See how he's looking at that door? And then he's like, well, am I coming back in here?
I was at one of the zoos, I think it was in Colorado, and there was two little armadillos. It was just so funny because one was like, digging in the ground, and this other one came up to it. It's like tipping a cow, just came up and just tipped it, and tipped it sideways so it could take over where it was at. What happened to you?
And he actually loves back scratches. If he gets close to you and you can kind of slow him down.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it's hilarious. Here, bud.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he
Oh,
starts to
that's
shake his
crazy.
booty.
Okay, that's crazy.